Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, beautiful people, man? Welcome back in, Right State of Mind Podcast. It's your boy, Charlie, back with another week. Hope y'all doing all right. Hope your weeks are going by pretty smoothly. I know when you hear this, it's going to be hump day, so hopefully this is help you get on through your week a little bit and look forward to the weekend. But, I'm excited, as always, back for another episode. Just real quick, I'm excited about this episode because if you're a A1 Day One listener, this episode goes along with the episode that I had in the past about about a year or so ago. If you remember, I did an episode with Jennifer London, and she is someone who's family to me. She is someone who was diagnosed or is diagnosed with cancer, and she came on the pod and she kind of shared her experience. Well, if you know how my mind works, something I had in the works for a long time was I've always thought to myself, and also just being around them. I've been around her and her husband a few times, a lot of times. And I've always thought to myself, I would love to get his experience of how it is, being the partner or the spouse of someone who is diagnosed with an illness like that. Because, on this podcast, it doesn't have to be a physical illness of something, like cancer. It can be mental illness also, which I love to hear both sides of those stories. So for today's episode, we have Josh London, who is her husband. He's going to come on the podcast. He's going to share his experience of what it's like, being the supporter, being the person that is, married to or with someone going through something like that. And I cannot wait to hear his experience, and hopefully, which I know he's very insightful. So I'm sure he'll have some insights to help a lot of people, because whether you're in the situation, something similar or not at all, you can always take something from it, because relationships, we know they're work. So there's a reason why they're hard. There's a reason why, most people in today's world, like the divorce rate is so high. I truly believe it's because a lot of the work that has to be done in relationships. It's not an easy thing, but it's a beautiful thing if you got two people on the same page. So I'm sure he'll be able to share his experience. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, love and support. We need it on the show. Do it for me. Do it for the people. Do it for all the love in the world. Just kidding. All right. Right State of Mind Pod. All social media accounts. Right State of Mind Pod. All lowercase. Do me a favor. Go follow the content pages. Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook. All the ones. YouTube now too. Right State of Mind Pod. Share the content as it comes out. Rate, review. 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It's on there. 5-star rating. Give me a review. That stuff goes a long way. Your love and support is what keeps the show going. So please do that. And we're going to take a quick break and bring back our guy, Josh London. Hang tight. All right, beautiful people. Welcome back into the Right State of Mind podcast. As promised, I have our guest for today's episode. This guest is like family to me, so I'm excited to have him on here. Well, actually, you are family to me, not like
That's
family.
right.
You are family
Thank
to
you.
me. So I appreciate you for being here, man. Mr. Josh London, welcome to the podcast, man.
Whoop. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, and I agree. You're not like family. You are family. So thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I appreciate it. Now, for any day one listeners or loyal listeners, I recorded with your wife. We were just talking about it a minute ago. This is like over a year ago. My memory's terrible. So it's just over like a year ago. Your beautiful wife, Miss Jennifer London, who is a character. Anybody who listen to that episode, they know what I'm talking about. Listen, she is one of those people, man. She lights up a room. She's full of energy and all the things. And we did an episode where she kind of was talking about her diagnosis of cancer and how it was living with that. And
yes,
to be honest with you, this is something that I've had in my head for a while. I was talking to my partner about it for a while, and I was like, you know what? I would love to get Josh on the podcast to hear his side of things and how it is living like as a spouse or a partner of someone with that diagnosis. So that's what we're going to talk about today, man. But before we get started, anybody who hasn't listened to that episode or anything, can you do like a little quick intro, introduce yourself to anybody who this is like fresh and brand new for them?
Yeah. So I am the spouse of Jennifer London, Jen London, and you are right. She is a trip. She's a character. She will light up a room. She brings it every day. So yeah, she did an episode with you. I was trying to remember. I think it's over a year, maybe a year and a half. I'm not sure, but um, she's talked about her journey and kind of living with cancer and what it looked like, how she deals with it, um, how she continues to thrive even under not ideal circumstances. So if you haven't listened, I would recommend it. It's a good listen.
Appreciate that, man. And anytime I'm around her, I'm always I told her this. I'm almost like I'm amazed when I'm around her a little bit. I'm just kind of like
Hmm.
because she's one of those people that if she didn't tell you, I don't think you would know. Like I don't
Yeah,
think you would
you're,
have a
you're,
clue.
you're yeah. It's interesting. I think I think that's good and bad, right? Because she's deals with a lot. She doesn't feel well often when she's on medication or treatment or radiation. Her energy levels can be really low. There's a tons and tons and tons of side effects that she's been going through for years. But when you physically look at her, you may not get that, and she will fake it till she makes it if she can, right? So she doesn't always let that on. And so for someone who meets her, um, I think a lot of people wouldn't note she's sick at all, which again can be really good because she's not treated differently or people aren't pitying her or treating her incorrectly. But sometimes, when you're not feeling well, people don't necessarily understand it because she doesn't look sick. She doesn't have a bald head. She's not emaciated. I think that's what a lot of people think people with cancer look like, who are in an advanced stage of cancer, which she is. Um, so I think sometimes it can be confusing, but that attitude and that life, I think, is part of the reason she's been doing so well.
For sure. And I agree. And I think, for this episode, I really want people to hear like the other side of what it's like in someone like you in those shoes that has to kind of be there and, be the person that's side by side with them. So let's start in the beginning,
Yeah,
man. What was it like when you guys
sure.
first heard the news or got the news? And like what was that initial kind of feeling like
Yeah.
for you?
So I'll tell you, Jen has had cancer for a long time, but she had some site one melanomas, which means like she had a mole that was melanoma, skin cancer, but they would go in and do a surgery, sometimes minimal, sometimes big, 4 inches of meat taken out. But it really had never advanced through stage one. So very scary. Um, but I don't know, you get kind of used to it. Jen will say, she'd always go, I have cancer, but it's just inconvenient, right? Like she would always joke about how it's not a big deal. I just, they find it and they operate and I'm good. So we dealt with that a few times. She had a couple benign tumors, just that grew, but were large and painful. So she had to have those removed. So those were kind of scary. But again, they didn't turn out to be anything. So you kind of, I don't know, I guess you learn to not really, really stress because you can fall in it. Like I meet people who like the doctor will say, they'll go, well, I went to the doctor and they said they saw something abnormal on my imaging, but nothing's been done. There's no testing yet. There's no diagnosis, and they are freaking out. Like they're gonna die. The end of the world's coming. They got a plan. Life is over. And it's really easy to fall into that. And I think Jen really quickly, and I followed suit with her. Just even if it worried us a little, we didn't really fall into that spiral, I think. And because she had some minor cases, not that stage one melanoma is minor, it's something to be concerned about, but they were caught early. She didn't have to have these progressive treatments. I think we just kind of learned I don't know if it's compartmentalize or just not worry until we actually spoke to the doctor and got real information. Um, but then she got ovarian cancer, granulosa cell ovarian cancer, right after Nick was born. Nick's 20 now. So, I mean, 18, 19 years ago, she had that. Um, we chose at that time, it was contained. So she had a full hysterectomy. But again, she would call that inconvenient, right? She didn't have to have chemo. She didn't go through any other treatment. She just had to be tested regularly to see if it came back. That came back in 2019. So no ovaries, but she still gets ovarian cancer. So that was kind of bizarre, right? So she had a really major surgery then, and went through 4 months of really brutal, harsh chemo. That, I mean, she was sick, like, lost the hair, typical thing. But she'd go for 5 days in a row. The average time in the chair was about 4.5 hours, 4 to 4.5 hours for 5 days. And by the second or third day, she would be incredibly sick, like throwing up, can't see straight, couldn't read, couldn't watch TV, nothing. And then she would feel that way for the entire next week. Then she'd have one free week, so where she'd start to feel pretty good. She called it a chemo high. So she'd come out, she'd be like, "Let's go buy a new car," because she felt great. And then she'd start right back at it, and then she stopped that. But during that time, and we got it contained. So it was contained, and we were just going to monitor kind of from here on out, but just at a closer rate. But during that time, she got a lump in her arm, and she showed it to her oncologist. She showed it to her primary care. She showed it to anybody who would look at her, and they're all like, it's nothing. Some days it would be swollen, like her whole arm would swell up, and other days it'd be fine. So we finished chemo in December. We went on a trip in February, and on that trip, her whole arm swelled up, like she couldn't even bend it. So she goes, "When I get back, I'm finding a surgeon. I'm just going to take it out. I don't care." So they take that thing out, and it's metastatic melanoma, site unknown, which means it's spread from somewhere in the body, but they don't know where. And so she found a surgeon on her own. She was like, "I need a surgeon." She asked her primary care, "I'm getting it removed. I don't care if I got to pay for it out of pocket." And just had it done. So had she not, it just would have continued to grow. So she did that, and then had immunotherapy. But they took a huge chunk of her arm, but they felt like the margins were clean, so they got it all. And then they did immunotherapy until she had liver toxicity, so she had to stop the immunotherapy. That was back in 2020, so during COVID. So that's probably the first time I think I ever got kind of scared about it. And I think probably her as well. Like, I think we went down that rabbit hole a little bit. Took us a few days to get in front of an actual doctor. She's traveling for work, flew back from Texas to see a doctor, and then she arrived and the doctor canceled the appointment on her because they said it was the wrong doctor and they didn't want to talk to her about it. So we had to reschedule. So she literally got back on a flight back to Texas and then came back a couple of days later. And that was right at the beginning of COVID. That was like March 12th, March 9th, something like that. So I couldn't be with her for her surgery or any of that. Once they got the margins clean and they scanned her and they didn't feel like it was anywhere else, and she did the immunotherapy, we felt really, really good again. But she'd go back for scans in almost 2 years to the date after she finished her treatment. She was like, "Hey, I got a lump. Like, she lost scar tissue there." So she went in, showed her doctor. She's like, "I don't know if it's scar tissue. I don't know if it's a lump." So they checked it, and the melanoma had come back. And I think that was scary for us, right? Like, if in 2020 pulled up when she was first diagnosed, if you pulled up on Google, because that's what people do, right? "Oh, I got metastatic melanoma." You pull it up, they were pulling data from like 2015, 2014, and the 5-year survival rate from 2014, 2015, I can't remember which year it was like 5 years was like 11%. So you're like, oh, like if you get diagnosed with metastatic melanoma, in 5 years, there's only 11% chance you're going to still be alive. So you're like, oh, so, that kind of really, at least for me, and I can't remember. Jen was a lot probably better than me, and I tried to keep it in so I didn't freak her out. But I remember we met with a doctor. She's got great doctors at UNC Chapel Hill. We love them. They did a really good job of calming us down and letting us know, like, the treatment from 2014, 2015 to 2020 and now to 2025. I mean, it's like Stone Age to the modern age, like there's a new drug all the time. And sometimes people with cancer will say, like, I'm just trying to stay alive till the next drug comes out or gets approved or they find the next thing, because they are consistently developing new drugs. So they're I'm going to say, I guess, up until that point, I know that was a really long way to get there, but up until that first metastatic melanoma, maybe her first one, I kind of freaked out a little bit. The ovarian cancer, I freaked out a little bit, but not like the level. Metastatic melanoma was much scarier to me. And then at some point, I remember her doctor said, a couple years ago, like, Jen, just all of a sudden, they don't ever talk at stages at our doctor. They're just, you got melanoma, it's systemic. We're going to treat it. We're going to keep you alive. Don't, let's just keep plugging. But one day she was like, well, what stage do I have? She's like, oh, you're 4, blah, 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 because it's, once it travels across the body, it's considered 4. And so you're like, or it hits the brain, or, and she's had both. So you go, like, you hear stage 4 metastatic melanoma, it's kind of hard not to take you aback. So those are times that scared me, but I think I've always believed in our care and her fight, right? And I don't think you can, if you dwell on what could happen when they're not at that point. I mean, it's going to show in every aspect of your life, and you just can't. I don't know how you don't, but we really never did. I don't think we ever dwelled, on it for long periods of time. We just figured out a way to, all right, kind of. I don't mean to flip in it. We never said this, but it's kind of like arts. So what now? What? Like, how do we know what we're dealing with now? What's the next step, right? And if this step doesn't work, we know our doctors have another step, right? And so that's where we're at. And we've been real fortunate that her doctors have continued to try new treatments when treatments weren't working. And we found a treatment plan that has been really effective for her. So when she talked to you, I know she joked about, like, you might not I think in that one, she used to joke like she wasn't going to live till 50. Well, she's 51, and she's in remission-ish is what we call it, or as close to remission as you can get. Her last few scans have been really good. There's been a reduction in disease and no progression. So there still looks like there's some metabolic activity in her right side, but she doesn't have any active brain metastases. She doesn't have anything active around the liver or the intestine like she did. There's nothing in the upper axillary. So we feel really good and strong, and she's actually skipped treatment the last few months to try to just help her recover physically, because the treatment can be, exhausting.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I don't know
I
if I
can
answered
only.
your question.
No, you did. No, you did. You did. This is the thing I'm thinking about, and this is what I'm curious of, though, because with what you just said,
Yeah.
I mean, it might have felt long for you, but I'm thinking, like, in the reality of things, that's a snapshot version. Like, this has been years of going through this for you guys. So through all that, the ups and downs, like, how has it impacted your relationship? Because I'm imagine, like, the focal point is the cancer, like the medical part. Like, what do we do here? How does that impact the relationship between you two?
So what I'll say, I should have said this at the beginning. I don't really like talking about being a caregiver. When friends or family or customers or my team who works with me, when they would, there were some rough times. Like, she was sick a lot, and she didn't feel well a lot. Her cancer was progressing.
Mm.
Not that she didn't have a good attitude and was still doing. I mean, she worked the whole time. I mean, it was incredible. At some of her sickest moments, she was still going to work. Um, and so I never people go, how are you doing? I know this is. I'm like, come on, man. Like being a caregiver, I just want to put the thing out. No matter what, it, it can be hard, right? It can be emotionally taxing. It can be physically taxing, depending on what kind of care you have to give. It can be stressful. It can be hard to balance everything you need to balance. Um, but it is nothing compared to what they're going through, right? So I always like to remind people that, and I told you I kind of talk about this today, but I want to put that disclosure out there that um, I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me, right? Or what I'm going through because it pales in comparison. If that makes sense, right? I feel awkward bringing up anything that is difficult or challenging for me because it's not near the level of what she's going through, right? I think she said something not like that on the podcast, not about being a caregiver, but I think she said, as bad as her situation was at the time, there's
Mm.
somebody who has it worse, right?
Yeah.
And so she always tries to remind herself of that, and I do too. Like my team talks about that. Like, so I'm an insurance agent, and we deal with customers all the time, and we try to be kind and empathetic and care for our customers and serve them, but sometimes we have to deliver bad news, and sometimes they're unhappy with something that really has nothing to do with us and they lash out and it comes out of nowhere, and you're like, man, it's really easy to react to something like that. But we remind ourselves like, hey, we don't know what they're going through. And
Hmm.
and we may be having a bad day, but they could be having a worse day. And we always just try to keep that in the back of our mind. So same goes for caregivers, right?
Yeah.
So I could have a tough time. She's having a worse time. I could be having a hard time as a caregiver. Another caregiver is having a worse time, right? So,
Yeah.
so I try to. I just want to put that disclosure out there
No.
that I'm not bitching and moaning, right? But yeah, it's hard. Um, it can. I think it can be challenging for a relationship, and um, it can be difficult because I think the primary role is of the caregiver, I think, or at least I always tried to. I think the way I looked at it was I wanted to try to support her the best way I could.
Mm.
But what does that mean? I don't know, and it can change every single day. So you don't always know what your partner needs. Your partner doesn't always know what they need. So I think from a positive aspect, it makes you, or it can make you, and I think it made me really in tune with her and kind of I had to read what she needed at times. But that can also be incredibly challenging because you're reading your partner all the time and they don't always want to be read in that moment, right? Like they're like, hey, I just want to be left alone right now, but you can tell they need something or you can tell they don't feel well. And uh, I'm a problem solver, right? Like that's what I
Mm.
do. If I see something's wrong, my goal is to try to solve that problem. And that's not always the right thing to do, right? I'm sure you deal with that
Sure.
in counseling.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just need to be a listening partner or a silent partner, or you don't always need to fix the problem. They just need to be heard or be supported. But support doesn't always mean fixing. And so you can very easily slide, and I have done this, into what your partner might consider to be not a caregiver role or a husband role, but a parent role, right? Like
Mm.
where you're kind of like, did you take your medicine? Did you go to bed? Did you blah blah blah? Did you, you know, and you're kind of monitoring their habits because know the repercussions if they don't do these things, but they don't want to be monitored all the time, right? Sometimes, yeah, they do. They need it and they want it, but other times they don't. So it's trying to find that balance of what works for you and your partner, and then also what works today may not work tomorrow, right? Like
Yeah,
she may feel like she needs XYZ today and may not be able to verbalize it, and I figured it out on my own, but tomorrow it may be too much. I may give her too much, right?
for
So
sure.
I does that make sense?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
the thing I'm laughing at is just like knowing Jen, I could picture this moment that you're talking about. I could picture her
yeah, yeah,
telling you, "All right, like that's enough. I got it.
yeah,
Like it is too much."
yeah.
I can see it.
She's like, I don't need to be reminded of these things, and I'm like, I, okay, fair. So it's funny. We talked. I don't know, a month. I don't know how long ago was it? A month or weeks, 2 months. I don't know. But I feel like I've been like, I don't say anything. I'm like, I'm really doing good at this. Asked me to, you know, pull back a little. So I'm like, I'm so good. And she said something and was like, you're so over the top like right now. And I was like, what? I've been so good at this. What are you talking about? She's like, this is being good. And I'm like, dang. I'm like, all right. So it does. I have to, and both partners, I think, need to reflect a little bit on, got to really work on your communication, how to communicate and not let things build or that. It's like any marriage. I mean, we've been married almost 30 years, but communication continues to have to evolve. And this is it's challenging, right? She took last year off of work, um, and I encouraged that, and she didn't like it, right? So she wanted to be a part of something. She didn't enjoy staying home, um, and so me as a partner who encouraged it can add some additional stress, and um, again, you just gotta support and encourage for them to do what they want to do, right? It's a journey together, but it's really their journey. And I think it's got to walk that journey together, but I think they got to be the one driving it, and you got to be careful not to. But you also got to sometimes guide, but maybe not guide too much. I don't
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
It's a
And
balance, right? It's a tricky little thing.
yeah, I'm about to say, and I'm sure for you in your shoes, it's like one of those. It's like a day to day. Like it's not. You got to just kind of adapt to the day. And I think the thing, like listening to you, the thing that it stands out to me, and it's something I've been talking about on a couple previous episodes, is like why it's so important when you're talking about marrying someone that you find the right partner, because the world we live in, I see this a lot. We already know the divorce rate is super high, and
Yeah,
it makes sense to me why it's so high. Just seeing how relationships are these days and how people look at certain things. Because I remember this funny story. I remember there was a point in my life where I felt like every weekend or every other weekend I was going to a wedding, and it was like
yeah,
friends were just getting married, and I enjoyed them. But the thing that always like stuck out to me was when they shared their vow,
yeah.
and I
Hmm.
would hear people say the things they always say, you know, till death do us part, for richer or for poor, for sickness and health. And I would think to myself, like, people are saying this very easily,
Oh yeah,
but how many
yeah,
people
yeah.
actually are going to go through those things with the person? And listening to you is kind of like, this is the through sickness and health part. And
It is.
for
Listen,
you,
you gotta walk the talk.
yeah,
Talk the talk, walk the walk, right? Like
yeah. Let me ask you
it,
this
it,
though:
it is. Yeah, yeah,
how important is it, like, because I would imagine for me to stay there and do this, like you really have to like love and want to be there for the partner. How important is that part? Like your feelings towards that person.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I love her, right? Anybody who knows us, I've known Jen since I was 13, right? And
Mm,
and I always knew she's my person, right? It just I had to convince her of that, right? So I had to do a little convincing. We took some time apart. Like we haven't been together since we were 13, but we originally dated for like a month when we were 13, right? And then we got back together in junior year in high school, and then we broke up, and we were back together senior year in high school, and then when she went to college, we split up again. And then I went to the Marine Corps. She was in college. And I mean, this is pre-cell phones. We found each other. I don't even remember how we reconnected because we had kept in contact from over the years a little bit, but like I didn't have it was a payphone in the barracks. I don't remember what it was, but I went and visited her one weekend up in Boone, and then I went away. I was going in like California, and she reached out to me by letter, like a huge letter, is saying like, "Hey, I think it's time." And then I mean, we got married not even a year later. So I mean, we were like 21 years old, you know, Marine, 21. I mean, the divorce rate. I mean, we should have been divorced. Like I think it was like a 95% divorce rate. Um, but we have, I think, it, we love each other, obviously, and we've committed to each other, and we know that things are not always easy, right? It's life is not perfection. Jobs are not perfection. Marriage is not perfection. Raising kids is not perfection. You've got a puppy. Is that perfect? Is that easy all the time?
Hell no.
No, right? Yeah. So it's everything in life, and it's do you make an effort if that's your person, if you love them, to work through those things. And Jen and I always have, and we've played different roles in our marriage. I think you, you know um, uh, you know she stayed home for a while with the kids, and then I took a step back, and she went back to work so that I could try to open an agency one day. um, we've played roles of one person's the finance person, the other one's the finance person, one person's the responsible one person's the not responsible one. Like, so I think you kind of you balance each other. And I think where her and I have always done really well is we recognize when one of us is not doing well mentally or physically, and we're able to pick pick that up, right? So we can pick up and support. But I think if you don't have a strong base and you had to go through this and you're not committed, it could be I can't even imagine. But
Yeah.
I also think it could bring some people closer together, right? I mean, there's times when some people, I think, see an illness of like, oh, well, I could have lost my partner. Like, it scares them, and they realize what they had, and what they could have
Mm.
lost. So then maybe they take some steps forward of things they weren't doing. But I mean, there's a lot of people who I think their partner gets sick, and the the financial stress it can cause, the physical stress, the emotional stress, because you know you're I mean, think about it. If you're on 40 different medications, chemo, and you're throwing up, and you're on immunotherapy, and you're on hormone blockers, and you're on, I mean, are you going to feel like your normal self all the time during that? Probably not, right? So as the caregiver and friends and family, you have to understand that, and and know that there are going to be times when they're not being their true self, and it's because they're not able to, right? I mean, the drugs are interacting with their body, their hormones are interacting, the sleep deprivation, the illness, whatever it could be, the fear, anger, doubt, they're going to sometimes affect how they interact with you or your friend or your children or your employer. And I think it's important for not to give someone a pass all the time, but to treat them with grace. Maybe is that the right word? Like, you gotta recognize what they're going through, and again, just try to be that supportive person. Because often I think, and I'm not specifically talking about Jen here, but I think often when people don't feel well, either mentally or physically or all of the above, and they lash out at someone, I think later they usually recognize that, even if they don't verbalize it, and how you interact with them in that moment can change that relationship moving forward. If you lash back, a lot of times I think, and I understand it as a caregiver, I think if the caregiver lashes back, which sometimes they might, right? You can only go so far. You're tired too, um, but it can affect how they feel. They're like, man, I can't believe that person just yelled at me or said X, Y, Z to me, you know? So I think, I don't know, that was a long, drawn out answer, but I think gotta love the person, I think, or it's going to be real hard, I guess, you know. I guess it's hard
For
for me to
sure.
answer because I've never not been in love with her. She's never not been my person. I've never had doubt. So there's never, you know, it's just it doesn't apply to me, but I can look at it, I think, from a perspective.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. I think, another question and the thing that makes me think of is like, I would imagine like a lot of the focus and the energy is put towards making that or making sure that she's okay and she has what she
Yeah,
needs. How do
100%.
you, as the spouse, make sure you're also making sure you get what you need as far as like whatever it is, mentally, physically, like you make sure,
Yeah.
okay, am I getting what I need and not have all the focus on that person? Or is it even possible?
So that's hard. So I'll tell you in the beginning, I wasn't worried about me at all.
Yeah.
Like I did nothing. I should say I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything conscious to try to do it. My sole goal was to support, to make her comfortable, to do what needed to be done. Clean the house, take the kids wherever they need to go, get the dogs out, keep it quiet, get her with medicine, food, whatever, you know, when she was really, really sick. And then in other times, be the listening board, be the whatever, provide advice, which again, you don't always say the right thing, right? You don't always know what they actually need. Sometimes you just need to listen. You got to kind of figure that out. So I promise you, I didn't always do it right. But in the beginning, I was not worried about me at all. And people would say to me, like people who'd been through it, who'd been caregivers, it would be like, listen, you've got to take care of yourself as well. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm good. Thanks. Appreciate you. And I didn't even really talk about it with anybody, or I don't want to say vent because I was never angry or upset. Vent's not the right word, but share, I guess, maybe some of my stressors because I didn't really understand maybe even what some of my stressors were. And again, I felt really strange telling a friend or a coworker or a family member or anybody like something was hard for me because again, I knew it wasn't as hard as what Jen was going through. So I think in the beginning, I really did not do a good job other than, she'd go to sleep really early because she was tired and I would find a show that she had zero interest in watching and I would watch it. Like, so that was my self-care probably.
Yeah.
Um, but I needed to probably get to the gym more. I got to the gym some, but again, it's hard. How do you balance that in, right? If you're working a full day and your partner might need something when they get home, or they might not be feeling well, and the dogs need to be let out, and the blah 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 needs to happen, and X Y Z. How do you take that time to go to the gym for 45 minutes? So um, I think that can be really hard to do, but I think it's important. What someone had recommended to me at one point, one of my team members, and I encourage people all the time too, but I've not been a good doer, right? I do as I say, not as I do, was
Yeah.
to maybe talk to a therapist, right? So I didn't feel comfortable talking to friends or family about it. I didn't really know. I knew I felt very stressed. I could feel it in my head. Felt like it was going to explode every day,
Mhm.
but I didn't really understand how to verbalize it or what's talking about it going to do. Because I mean, there was really no solution to it, right? I can't fix the stress of worrying about how her treatment's going and is she going to get better as the disease was progressing, right? So there's a fear there that's causing the stress, even though it's not overtaking your life. Like you're not just constantly worried about it, but it's there and you can feel it, right? So what are they gonna, what's talking about it gonna do? In my mind, I'm like, I don't know. So I did finally sign up to get some therapy, but it was not a good fit. I tried it a few times. I stepped away, but coincidentally, around that same time, she started to get a little bit better, and so my stress level reduced. She felt a little better, so I wasn't having to do as much. I figured out how to balance my caregiving better where I wasn't overwhelming her either, right? So she didn't necessarily need me to do everything,
Right.
and I'm not saying I was. She did plenty. I don't mean it that way. But I felt the need to try to do everything.
Yeah.
And so it's hard, and you need to figure out little moments, even if it's like I found a lot of peace and solace in walking the dogs every day. Like, so I do that in the morning every day. I still do it. We live near the water, so I go look at the water. Like right now,
Yeah.
the sun sets, the sunrise is coming up, so I see the sunrise on the water. And in like that 5 seconds of looking at the sunset on the water, it just, I can feel like, so you got to find those little moments, I guess, is what I would say. Um, if you're feeling real stressed, I'm good at breathing. Breathing does freaking work. It's stupid, but it works. I wouldn't think it was, and exercise works if you can find the time.
For sure. That's funny. The breathing is stupid, but it works. I think I've heard something similar before from a
Yeah,
client or something.
I mean, it's like,
So
oh, take a deep breath. Oh yeah, like my head's about to explode. This deep breath is not going to work, and you're like, oh yeah,
yeah.
I feel better.
You know why that is though?
Why?
Because a lot of people don't realize what it does for your body. Like that's what it's for. It's not necessarily for like just a practice to do this or that.
Yeah,
It's really for your body, your central nervous system.
yeah,
That's the purpose of it.
yeah.
And
I
I
feel
don't
like you're
think
resetting it when I do it.
exactly. I don't think people realize that
Yeah,
because it's like it may be not the feeling that they imagine or does what they think it's going to do, but
right.
it's really for your
Yeah,
body though, and it helps your body.
right.
So
Yeah, makes
I
sense.
I think
Makes
that's a
sense.
big reason why people feel that way. So here's my last question, man, and we'll close up on
Yeah,
this because I know there's people
yeah.
out there, and it may not be the same exact thing, but I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are with someone that may be going through something because it doesn't have to be a physical illness. It can be a mental illness. It can be
No.
anything.
Mm-mm.
What would be
Mhm.
your advice
Yeah,
as the spouse or the partner out there for anybody that's going through something similar where they're supporting someone going through some sort of illness?
yeah. I think one, to be there for the person, right? I think that's your number one. You gotta be present and engaged, right? So um, you got to be involved. You can't put your head in the sand and ignore what's happening. You got to be a supportive, loving partner, however that may be. Whatever your partner's, I don't know, love languages, whatever that, if you know that, try to do that as well. But I think what I could have done better in the beginning is communicate better and try to figure out how to support her better. Whereas I was inferring how I needed to support her. But I also don't know that she should have verbalized it. And she probably wouldn't have wanted to be asked all the time either, right? Like, what do you need? Which I do a lot. Are you okay? I did that tons and tons and tons in the beginning because I didn't know what to do, but I knew she needed something or I wanted to do something. I know it was overbearing and overwhelming. And so I think try to do things in moderation and make sure that they know if you need to do more, you're willing to do more. You just don't want to overstep, and you want to let them live their life as a normal person as best they can. But you're trying to navigate how to support them as well, and you don't know exactly the right way. So if you feel I'm not supporting you, communicate that with me. Either I'm giving you too much or I'm not giving you enough. But then as the caregiver, you got to be real careful not to get defensive in that moment because you can. You're doing your best, and you think you're doing everything, and they're like, hey, you're doing too much, and you're like, oh, well, back up. Like,
Right.
well,
Right.
I'm doing all this and you're not even. So you got to be careful not to let that hurt your feelings. You got to be receptive to that feedback because, again, it's not about the caregiver. It's about the person you're giving the care to. So if they're telling you that the care you are providing is not what I need in this moment, it's your job to listen to them and be receptive to that. So that's something I still work on to this day. So I'm probably a little hypocritical in that, but I think I'm a lot better about it now than I was. But your feelings can get hurt sometimes. You know, it's we're
Yeah.
human. Just try not to let it show, right? And know that you need that communication to provide them that care. And they're trying to tell you what they need. So
Mm.
does that
For
make
sure.
sense?
100%.
Yeah.
And I know it's one of those things where it's easier said than done. Like I know sitting here
Yeah.
now say it, but in the moment I understand exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying about that because it's all
Because
about, and
because
that's the working together part.
yeah, you're the person, your spouse, your partner, whoever it is, whoever your parent. I mean, gosh, I can't even imagine taking care of your parents like that. But whoever it is in that moment may not deliver the message really well, right? So you've asked them to communicate, but you may get a little bit of that flash, right? Like they may not deliver it well, so you want to react, and just like you would if you were an employee, sometimes you got to just listen, process, and okay, I got to listen. They're telling me what they need. That's my job right now. My job is to give them what they need. You can talk about it later, the delivery, if you want, if you think it's necessary, but don't talk about it in the moment, in my opinion. But that's, I think that's, communicate early on that you are there to support, you're there to love, don't exactly know what to do, but you're going to try to figure it out. And if you're not doing something, communicate that with me. And you'll do your best to try to accommodate that, but you're human too, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, listen, man,
you're learning.
I want to say thank you so much for sharing that because I know there's some people out there that could really use that advice and find that
Yeah.
helpful because I know what you're doing is not an easy thing. And I listen, you have my full respect because I've seen it in person. That you being that partner, and I have nothing but admiration when I see it. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your
Appreciate it.
experience, my man.
Thank you. I got one last thing I want to add is
Please.
when your partner is not sick, stop treating them like they're sick. Right. So that is something else that I have to be better at. You
Mm,
when you get into full caregiver mode and you're in that mode for a very, very long time, when
yeah.
they are feeling better, still act like a caregiver. And I think that's where maybe the parenting can come from a little bit is you've got to work yourself out of that role and back into spouse mode or sister mode or brother mode or child or parent mode. And then but if they become sick again or need that care, then you gotta transition back over. So that's the last thing I'll add.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I get it because I think once you're in that mode, it's like that. That's kind of like that becomes your norm almost. So I can imagine.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming
Appreciate you,
on.
man.
I love it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it so much, man. So thank you so much. We will. I always say this to everybody that comes on my podcast, man. The door is open. So hopefully, maybe this won't be the last episode we have you on. So we appreciate it.
I didn't think you were going to say that. And I listened to your podcast, Charlie. I'm one of your faithful listeners who liked, followed, clicked, did all the above, subscribed. And I was like, he always tells people they have an open invitation. And I'm like, he has not said that to me. I was about to call you out, but you said
See,
it right at the last minute. Thank you. I appreciate
I
that.
sensed it. And I said it. I'm glad I said it now. But no, for real. Thank you so much, man. And we
All
will
right.
see, man. That door will be there. So thank you all for listening, man. Thank y'all so much. Go ahead and just like he said, just what he does or did, that's what I need you guys to do. Go ahead and follow the podcast, Right State of Mind Pod, on all socials, man. Like, subscribe, share, review, do all of the things. It goes a long way. Appreciate it so much. So until next time, get your mind right.